I guess talking to such an audience is not easy because I'm in the marketing department and I'm good at promoting an airline. I'm not very good at talking about facts and figures. I'll try to answer most of your questions. I start with this quote from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, simply because the subject is to talk about Emirates success and Dubai success as two brands. And fortunately, Sheikh Mohammed, he's the boss of the two brands. In 1985, February 1985, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, which wasn't the Crown Prince at that time, but he was in charge of the airport, he called my current boss, Sir Maurice Flanagan, and told him, it was February 1985, and told him, Maurice, we are working on for Dubai to become an international hub for business, sports, tourism, and we need an airline. Do you think we can form an airline? Of course, Flanagan said, yes, I can look at it and come back to you. He said, okay, can you do a feasibility study? In May, His Highness called Flanagan back, and he said, where are we with our study? Flanagan said, with the current structure of the NATO, I think we need $10 million to start. With $10 million, we can start an airline and we'll take it up from there. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, he had a $10 million check ready. He said, Maurice, this is $10 million. I want you to create an airline, be good, look good, and make money. Then Flanagan looked at him and said, anything else? He said, no, go and don't come back again. And this was His Highness' small brief. Of course, it was a longer conversation, but two things His Highness concentrated on the conversation. One of them is to protect Dubai as an open sky policy. Another one, not to expect any subsidies. And obviously, Emirates started, in October 1985, Emirates started operation with 2 leased aircraft. And since day one, our brand values were ambitious, progressive, cosmopolitan, and visionary. Same brand values of Dubai. Now, in less than 27 years of life, Emirates has grown from a little airline with a lot of question marks from industry leaders from everywhere around Middle East and the globe, thinking, what are these people thinking they are going to do? And we were introducing a lot of firsts. If you see all these firsts here, these firsts didn't come up by Emirates going shopping around the world. They came up by Emirates telling the suppliers, looking at the market, and taking same philosophy, is to be ambitious and to provide a service that people would like and people would want. From day one, from Flanagan and every manager came after him, Emirates Airlines' main goal was to create a first-class airline and to bring in something on the table that no other airline can provide. Today, we have 171 aircraft and another 235 on order. Probably, the one on order probably worth $80 billion now. And obviously, we are not only a transport vehicle or an airline. When we say we want to inspire, we want Emirates to change from being a transport airline or a service industry to become a really lifestyle industry. I am sure lots of you, because you live here probably, you had a chance one day or another to travel Emirates, and I saw a lot of your committed and loyal customers. So really, I will not be telling you much. All what I can say is the fusion of the best of the world. We have 60,000 staff and 167 nationalities. And this is the DNA of Emirates. Emirates is not only about a UAE. We used to say Emirates is a UAE international airline. We are proud we are UAE international airline, but probably we are the only truly global airline, an airline for everybody. And now, as we are, you can see Emirates is the 3rd international airlines in terms of passengers, and in terms of passenger kilometers, which is in our industry. That's the way we manage our yield, and that's the way we calculate our profit. We are #1 in the world now. Emirates in India, I know this is a little bit out of the subject, but since majority of you are Indian, I thought we'll do some publicity here. India is the biggest international airline which go to India. We service 10 destinations. Of course, we were the first airline to operate the A380. We are the first international airline who introduced first and business class lounges. And of course, we are first and only airline to offer chauffeur drive service. And of course, my guys forgot to add, we are the first airline who introduced first class seats into India. Speaking about India, this is an example how we service the rest of the world. And that's an example how really Emirates is a truly global airline. That same model of business we do for Australia, for UK. We service a lot of what we call them regional hub, unlike majority of other international airlines who goes from main city to another main city. This is our current destinations. Of course, the center is Dubai. We go now to not over 100 destinations, will be 130 destinations soon. And of course, all this success and expansion within 27 years, if you compare it to our colleagues in the industry, it's really phenomenal. We've been growing in an average of double digits, and growing, it wasn't like an easy ride. It's like Dubai witnessed challenges, we witnessed all these challenges. And over the years, we managed to really answer to these challenges. We managed to strive and we managed to continue. Of course, probably it has a good thing and bad thing. The good thing is our competitors couldn't manage through this rough time. The good thing is that we managed and we continue growing, we continue providing a sustained good service, and we never stopped flying one day unless during the volcanic ashes because we were not really allowed to fly. Our passenger growth, by this 2012, hopefully we will be carried 34 million passengers, and you see we will go to 50 million by 2015, but these are for the press, not the figure to publish, please. Obviously, our ambition is to be one of the top 100 brands in the world. If you look at this list, there is not even one single airline in the top 100 brand for the time being. It could be for a lot of you, what does it mean? This is the brand spirit of Dubai. And that's we are really, the association with Dubai, it worked well for us. And I will go through some figures for Dubai here to show that really we're not talking poets or PR. So if you look at Dubai growth, it's similar to our growth. That was Dubai, the passenger carried. This year itself, last year, despite all the economical problems, Dubai managed to bring in 11% more tourism to Dubai. So by 2020, we reckon Dubai will bring in 18 million tourists. Knowing Dubai, there will be probably 25 million. In 2008, this is just a quick example on how Emirates work closely with Dubai as a hub, and how Dubai really play a big role in the success of Emirates Airlines. It has been even before, in 1985, when Emirates started, from day one, we established our Emirates Holidays division, which is a division which had to promote Dubai abroad. Then it changed into Arabian Adventure. One of the first we started, the Dune Dinner. Dune Dinner is something just nobody heard of. And we established it because when you start flying in 85, Dubai didn't have so many infrastructures. You probably had people who've been here enough. They would remember probably 2, 3 hotels and the clock roundabout. That was the only thing goes in the tourist slides which distributed to the press in 85 was the clock roundabout and one picture of the creek. There was nothing else. So for Emirates, in order to succeed, of course, we looked at Dubai and what Dubai was trying to do. And one of the things which was missing, even the Dubai Tourism Commerce Promotion Board didn't exist at that time. So Emirates Airlines took this role. In 1992, when DTCM started, they took over. In 1988, everybody knew the problems Dubai faced and the global attack on Dubai in terms of a ghost city, in terms of Dubai, all sorts of negative publicity, in addition to the financial issues. And Emirates, when we looked around, we found, okay, it's a time now, maybe we should take initiatives. We spent $20 million on a campaign. This advertising campaign is close to my heart because it really reflected the true Dubai. All the characters in the campaign were true characters. We didn't pay a penny for one actor or for one picture. These are real people, they spoke real, and they reflected Dubai. That's why we took initiative and we did a print campaign and TV campaign. I'll show you just 2 ads because we produced 14 of them, just for the sake of changing a little bit for you.
What is Bastakia?
Bastakia is one of the most beautiful areas in Dubai.
It doesn't matter where you see children performing, you always have proud parents. It's the same the world over.
My babies.
Oh, wow.
I feel that the human body it's the whole world.
I want to show you how to make ornament of gypsum. This is a real gypsum stone from Jabal Ali in Dubai.
Okay, just really hit it hard.
Yeah, strong. More strong. Okay, no problem. Okay.
I broke your basham. Have you got a spare? Is that a piece of art?
Yes. The artist has painted herself and sat on the chair.
That's amazing.
Here we have the leap of faith.
There must be a record for that.
We have the record, sir.
What time is it?
6 seconds.
That's nothing. I could do that.
And the one who did that is my boss.
Bring on your boss.
You're going to take my record from me today.
I'll take anybody's record.
Let's not waste any time then. Let's go.
So how tall is this ride?
27.5 meters.
Whoa, that's right. Consider I'm the challenger. I think I should go first. But if I don't make it, can you give this to my mum? Bring on! What time?
6.7.
Good liar, rubbish.
Okay, Curtis, I'm on my way.
6.2. You beat me, I was 6.7.
Oh,
well done.
Let's keep the crown for another day. Very, very smooth.
So again, I go back to the success. It's very important that the success of Dubai and success of Emirates are so much linked to each other. If you look at now Dubai becoming the 4th international hub, which is of course Dubai Airport, 50 million passengers 2011, 8% from 2010. And you see with this size of figures, when you talk about 8%, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of preparation. Again, I will proudly say thanks to Emirates because we carry probably half of these passengers to Dubai and the other half every other airline. And now Dubai geographically, although everybody say you are lucky geography, you are based there, but of course there are a lot of cities around Dubai, they could have done the same. Now Dubai handles 6.6 billion people, we can service them within 60 hours flight, which means the whole world in a way. If you look at these figures, I think they are very conservative figures provided by United Nations World Population, because I can't believe China will be only 1.4 billion in 2030. But anyway, with these really conservative figures, it shows what my colleague spoke earlier about the potential growth for airline industry and for Dubai and for places like India and China. The potential growth is phenomenal. Yesterday, Airbus announced that India by itself, it needs 1,300 aircraft, I think, in 10 years' time. So really, Emirates need to go more to India. We need more destinations. We need more capacity. Just to answer some of your questions, I think the growth India is going, they need probably another 5 Emirates Airlines to service them. Our future, of course, having put all these figures, the future looks bright. We are determined that we will face the future. We are determined and confirm that Dubai and Emirates will continue growing with the same pace and probably further. As I said earlier, our order book of 233 aircraft worth $84 billion. We can serve 95% of the world population now with non-stop. And of course, our route network will grow to more than 170 destinations, estimated 8,500 logical city pairs. So really, Dubai will be able, or now even Dubai is able to service any point in the rest of the world, and that's what makes Dubai successful, and that's why meeting like this one always successful, and we will see more and more of them. This is hopefully we like to see the world, like our President Tim Clark last week presented to Expo 2020, and he told them by 2020, I will show you the map where we will not be flying, and he showed them a map was empty. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for inviting me.
Extraordinary growth. I'd like to ask, well, there's lots of questions actually, but one of them is about what Mr. Kamath was talking about, organic and acquisition. You, I think, have grown organically mainly, yet you did have a venture with Sri Lankan Airlines and maybe some others. Why did they not take off? Why have you stayed with the organic route?
Because organic, the pace of our growth and the volume really allows us to grow organically and doesn't give us any room to go for acquisition. So at the end of the day, when you grow 20, like for example, in the last between 9 months and the coming 9 months, we would have received 30 aircraft. 30 aircraft, you have probably 200 airlines in the world who have less than 30 aircraft each. So when you grow in the average or pace of one airline every year, this is better than any acquisition and better than any other joint venture, really.
We have a microphone coming to the front. One here on this table first. Yes.
There's also the plan for the Maktoum Central.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get some basic idea of how that fits into the overall strategic plan. It's supposed to be a logistical hub and the first of its kind, completely integrated. So if you can tell us a few words about that.
To be honest, this is a question you ask for the government. But from us, as an airline, I can say no airline on earth can grow without a big base. And we were fortunate enough that Dubai government, they've seen it and they drove it and they built the airports we need. Now they are finishing at the end of this year the C3, which we call it, which is going to be the all A380 terminal with 20 gates, with the top floor going to be all business and first class, access straight to the A380. So really, it's not only they are building the airports, they are building airports which are like 7-star standard. I believe Dubai airport now, and it will become always the best airport to use in the future. And there is another plan, I understand, from the current airport as well to extend further. So hopefully by the time they reach 100 to 120 million passengers, in the meantime, they will continue expanding at Maktoum. But Maktoum, I can't give dates or timetable for anything, but all what I know, Dubai government is committed to Emirates and to the airline industry that they will give us the facility we want, and that's what Dubai succeeded. Dubai, I remember in the late 90s, somebody was sitting with Sheikh Mohammed in the Majlis and told him, Your Highness, that every day 35 million passengers fly over Dubai. And Sheikh Mohammed looked, he said, how many passengers we have out of them? Somebody says 5 million. He says, he'd look at Sheikh Ahmed and the head of DTCM at that time, Khalid bin Sulaim, and said, I want you to make sure that 15 million out of these land in Dubai. And of course, when Sheikh Mohammed said such a thing, he doesn't say it out of just trying to look ambitious. He says it because he means it, which means for them new roads, new infrastructures, new airport, bigger, more hotels, and we all see it now. The more you build hotels, the more you fill them in. And I guess the Maktoum by 2020, 2025 is a must and is a need for Dubai.
One more question from the front, and then we're coming up.
Yeah. Much like Emirates Airlines, Qatar Airways and Etihad have similar ambitions. How do you see this affecting Emirates' growth plans, Emirates' future plans, and How do you see this impacting the growth of Emirates?
Sorry, I didn't get it. What is it?
Sorry, can I repeat that?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay. Qatar Airways and Etihad both have very similar ambitions in terms of growing. They have similar locations. Locations can't be very different from where we are. How do you see them affect? How do you see their plans affecting what Emirates has in store in terms of their own growth plans?
Actually, both of them, yes, they adopted Emirates' business model, which is for us, it's a real something to be proud of, that they are adopting our business model. But I can tell you, we are witnessing 80 to 84% seat capacity for Emirates. So to be honest with you, we don't see a direct threat. We see their growth, as we said, about, when Mr. Arif and Mr. Kemet came up with these figures about India and show the growth around the globe of economy and business. There is a room, as I said earlier, there is a room for not only Emirates and Qatar Airways and Etihad, there is a room for another 5 airlines.
Boutros, Emirates has used sports as a major branding strategy, if I can say that. And many airlines have used specific teams, carrying teams and stuff. But in terms of having your brand in the arena, on the back of umpires in cricket, so football, golf, cricket. So is this, what's behind that and how has it worked for you? That's question one. Question two is slightly, service innovation. We've seen a lot of, I've been flying Emirates ever since you started. And, a loyal customer. And we've seen a lot of service innovation happen continually, perhaps in the previous about 10 years. Maybe I would say, if I leave the last 4 or 5 years out. But after a certain growth, service innovation seems to have been, dropping off a bit. Do you think that's a valid observation? Or is there something you're really doing to make sure it's continuously innovative?
Okay. I'll answer the first, number two, because that's the negative answer. I'll move to the number one later. No, I think, it's perception in a way. Because at the end of the day, a service, what's a good service for me and you? This is something we can debate all day. Of course, the percentage of growth we are witnessing is not easy. And the staff retention is not easy. Based in the Middle East here, you have a lot of an average 10% retention. So Emirates recruit every year, like this year we'll be recruiting probably 10,000 between retention and new people. So it's not the easy training and so on. So to sustain or to maintain a proper standard of service, it's not easy. Of course, I'm sure we will have a lot of times we have unhappy customers. They write to us, but at least we take care of them. We look at their concern and we re-adapt. I go back to India a couple of years ago. We re-audited the whole Indian service and we reintroduced. We put more Indians on Indian rules. We put more Indian food, and because we listen and we look at what our customers want, and we give them more. And we like always to raise their expectation. We don't like, to raise their expectation. We like them always to have the element of surprise. Going back to the sponsorship policy, our sports sponsorship, the policy there, it works. That's why we do it. And that's why you notice we sponsor sports. We sponsor symphony orchestras, we sponsor education. We do a lot of non-sport sponsorship, but unfortunately it doesn't work. That's why you see only the sports. So our sports sponsorship strategy, it worked. I said in several occasions, we have almost 3% of the total revenue as a budget for corporate communications, and it's up to my department how we redistribute it. I like to say always, we spend smartly, and that's why you see our sports sponsorship. But I don't think we spend, in total corporate communication budget, I don't think we spend more than any other airlines. In the industry norm, you spend between 4 to 6%, in other probably more consumer products. But for products like us, 3% is very conservative figure. And I take it as a compliment when you see our sports sponsorship is really very well noticed.
What about your commitment, your green commitment, and what are you doing to reduce the carbon footprint?
You have to give your name first, please. And also, I don't know where you are.
I can't hear well, please. What is the idea?
I'd like to ask, what is Emirates' commitment to reduce the carbon footprint? Any policies you could talk about?
What is it?
How do you reduce your carbon footprint?
Buying new aircraft, this is, and for us at the end, unfortunately, we don't manufacture aircraft, but we have one of the youngest fleet in the world. And of course, new technology, new aircraft. We took a lot of measurements. We have a lot of green measurements, actually, we take, and we produce environmental booklet, which has all these initiatives. Really, we do a lot of activities, a lot of things within our means. One of them, we plant like hectares of trees. We reduce the weight on board. And to be honest with you, it's not only we do it only for the love of the environment. We do it because the fuel is very expensive, and anything which reduces consumption works well for us. And with the fuel prices now currently, the fuel is becoming 42% of our total cost, which was 22% like a couple of years ago.
22 to 42, it's a lot. There's a question at the back, because we're waiting patiently.
Good evening, Mr. Boutros. I'm Tilak from IM Bangalore 2008 batch. No doubt, Emirates is actually one of the marquee stories in terms of growth in aviation industry. And yet, the response from competitors, especially European competitors, has been fairly strong. My question to you is, what are the views of the company regarding this response, number one? Number two is, what are the strategies that Emirates wishes to adopt and regarding this competitive response? And the third is, do you think that such a strong response is actually a symptom or rather a challenge of organizations from emerging markets?
Just the first question was about competition and people accusing us for subsidies and things like that?
Yes, I mean, the response has been pretty strong.
Yeah, actually, look, it's, you are an industry, because we are successful, people have various reasons why to attack us. For us, we have our own audited accounts, which tell everybody that we are not subsidized. It's a proof. Our books are open. We borrow from international banks. All of you here businessmen. Nobody will lend you money unless they look at your books. They do all sorts. They ask you all sorts of questions to make sure you are really, financially strong. Various competitors, they come up with all sorts of accusations. Even they reach a stage saying, building a big airport is a subsidy. So at the end of the day, where do you stop these allegations? We'd rather get on with our job, continue our work. For us, what our concern really is our customers. These are the people who we service. They are the people who pay our money. Other airlines don't give us any money, so to be honest with you, we don't care about them.
There's a question at the front here.
Yeah, I just had a question, Boutros, about since the subject of innovation, and you had a slide saying how Emirates has been the first in a lot of this thing, and we have, people living here and traveling Emirates have seen that, evidence of that. I just wanted to ask, how does the organization sustain and drive that kind of innovation? Is it something, some processes you have in the organization? Is it coming from outside? Do you get it done from outside, or is it a DNA embedded in the organization? Can you share that with us?
Good question you ask. Anyway, we don't have all day to answer, but all what I can tell you, we have several divisions. One of them is, we call it Product and Development Committee, which is representative of various departments within Emirates. And you have the engineering and the sales and so on and so on. And this is they have a weekly meeting. We always look at what's available, we look at what we need. But what's most important, we don't buy things that people come to us. Like I do for me, if people come for a sponsorship, I tell them, if I need you, I'll go to you. For us, we go after the manufacturers, we tell them what we want. We give them the specification of the takeoff weight of the aircraft, of the baggage hold, where it should be, how many aisles we want, the seats. Even when we signed the A380, at that time the head of Airbus said 80% of this aircraft was manufactured based on Emirates inquiry. That's why, because even now we are much bigger. Now we tell Boeing and Airbus what we want. We put our request to even curtain manufacturers, to in-flight system manufacturers. Last week I had a meeting with Panasonic. We had a big fight with them. So that's what we do all the time. We have teams, they go, they spend hours and hours in manufacturers, try to adopt and tailor-make the products to Emirates. So to answer you, we go after them. They don't come back they don't come to us. Of course, if somebody comes with a bright idea, we adopt it. But airline industry is very expensive industry. It's not and it's a big challenging now, the moving of technology and the fast and of improvement and development. It's becoming really big challenge for us and other people. Because to give you an example, let's say the microwave of the aircraft is like $50,000. The screen of the seat of the first class costs us the whole thing $28,000 per seat. So this technology, it's very easy. We make sure we buy it, we put it forward to our passengers because our passenger wants it and they pay for it. And I believe in our industry, it's not as easy as others. Now a lot of people saying why you don't have like the iPad. They produce 3 iPads and we're still struggling to improve our eye system, our own screen. So it's really, it's a tough industry and it's very expensive.
There's a question in the front, then I'll come to the back.
Boutros, I am a great admirer of Emirates Airlines.
Thank you.
Naveen Kapoor, 1977 batch, Ahmedabad. You pay so much for the seat because you have 4 options for vibrator on those seats, and which many other airlines are not offering, and that's credible. I happened to pass last week through your lounges in Dubai, and one thing that struck me was that it does not have anything to do with Emirati culture. I could get my shoe signed by people there, back massage done, exactly in the same way what happens in the Virgin Clubhouse in London Heathrow. Is it a copy model, and why can't we have more of Emirati reflection in your first class and business class lounges here?
First, Virgin Airways, they copied us. Let's just start with. Second, Emirati culture, we have a great feature of Emirati culture, which is generosity. At the end of the day, how can you tailor-make a service for your global airline? And we said, and I said it before, if we want to be truly global, we have to be truly global. I cannot bring Al-Ayala and just to reflect a culture. We reflect the culture. We have Arabic programs more than anything else on board. We have the generosity of the Arab, the hospitality of the Arab, the welcome on board, the coffee, even the uniform of our cabin crew. It reflects an Arabic thing. You cannot be 100% UAE or 100% Indian or 100%. You remember, it's very difficult to cater to all nationalities. So that's why we try to provide a service which is appealing to everybody, service that everybody likes, and limousine service. A lot of people, now we changed from Volvo to Mercedes. A lot of people within our organization saying, well, why do you need to change it? Did people ask for it? No, nobody asked. But for us, we like always to provide the best possible service. We want to Emirates become a really lifestyle brand, not a service brand. And the meaning of a lifestyle brand, like the same way you are proud you were a Rolex, we want every passenger to be proud that they flew Emirates.
From the question at the back.
Hi, I'm Mustansir from Ahmedabad 2003. My question is that with respect to the global aviation model, we have the model today which is successful, which is the hub and spoke, which Emirates, Qatar Airways and Etihad, all of them are following. What happens in the case when the long range carriers, once they come, I'm talking about the aircraft like the 787, and once that comes into full swing in terms of the production and availability in the market, then what happens to the hub and spoke model at that time?
What happens to?
To the hub and spoke. See, as of now, you're connecting a lot of passengers, a lot of people coming via Dubai, but they aren't actually originating in Dubai or ending in Dubai. But what happens when these passengers find a faster aircraft or an airline which gets them faster to their destination? So an aircraft like the 787, which Emirates does not have a very clear sort of strategy.
You mean they don't have stopover in Dubai anymore?
Yeah, once that hub and spoke, what's your view on that?
Yeah, but this is the problem now European airlines facing. That's why they are screaming against Middle Eastern airlines, because before everybody had to stop coming from US, had to stop in Europe, then stop somewhere else before they reach Australia. Now technology, which is something we drove, and we were proudly pushing manufacturers to produce, they produce now aircraft which can go 16 hours non-stop. Now for us, the model of our business, because we build Dubai as a hub, we bring in passengers and we redistribute them. So the economy of scale works for us in terms of number of destinations and destinations we service. That's why we came up with the idea of servicing regional hubs rather than going only to Heathrow. We go because we realize we're having passengers coming from Manchester, from Newcastle, and all this stuff. So we went to them. So I think our business model now and the way we are creating our traffic, it will be very difficult at least for the coming 10 years for a non-stop aircraft, let's say London to Sydney, to fill in this aircraft. So for us, we have the strength of and the capability to bring them to Dubai and put them on a 500 passenger aircraft and take them somewhere else with one stop. And again, this is something, you have to deal with it when it comes. But I think, again, the growth of the economy around the world and the middle class growth now, there is no airline can really, I don't think there is enough aircraft for it.
The question in the middle here.
My name is Edward Quinlan. I'm one of the 1199. Boutros, my question is, you mentioned that Emirates spends its very large sports sponsorship budget very smartly, and I agree with you. However, this makes it very difficult for me to understand how you chose Arsenal Football Club as opposed to Manchester United.
Good question, because at that time, Manchester United were not honest with us. So we were speaking to them, and behind our back, they were speaking to another brand, and they use us as a bargain element. And at that time, because Emirates wasn't very well known, they chose Vodafone on us. Surprisingly, a few years later, they came to us to sponsor them. So at the end, it was their loss. I believe Arsenal is a good club, and I believe our sponsorship policy, in order to have a global awareness, it worked very well. Probably in 4 or 5 years' time, we'll change this policy. But for the time being, as far as we are not really very well known, we need this sponsorship policy. When we started going to Sao Paulo and Brazil recently, we did a survey to see the awareness. And Emirates Airlines was the #1 airline people really remembered, mainly because we sponsor AC Milan. Then we discovered that AC Milan is the #1 club in Brazil and in Argentina. So really going into sports sponsorship, especially like Emirates, we own the main 3 sports, which is cricket, soccer, and we do other sports and rugby. And this is where we cover the globe, and that's where we hope that the awareness becomes really stronger and stronger. Then we can put probably more money in other mediums.
In the middle. If you've got a microphone.
Good afternoon. When I first flew to Dubai on Emirates in 1991, it was a good experience, and I checked into a hotel there. When I went, right behind the reception, there was an advertisement of Emirates Airlines. Perhaps that was the best ad ever created, ever I have seen. It has a big picture where an executive was sitting, just the seat was flying, and the second picture was the guy is just moving out of the aircraft. And below, it said, even time flies with Emirates. That was one of the best ads. And I believe this is what has this type of very artistic and very skillful advertising has added much to the creation of Emirates brand. After that, every time I flew Emirates, I used to get a sense of enhanced satisfaction.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what is behind this creative team, who is driving this team, and what would you advise to your fellow industrialists, other sectors in service industry?
That's a tough question. We are too humble to advise anybody, but I can tell you, really the driving success behind Emirates is Dubai. At the end of the day, you cannot succeed if you don't have a base, if you don't have a home. And United Arab Emirates provided us the environment and the atmosphere to bring in the best people in the industry, to bring the best talents, and to recruit the best talents. And I can say I've been 20 years with Emirates. I was never told which agency to use. I was never told which person I employ. I had total freedom. I have a budget probably 1.5 billion dirham now. Nobody asked me what you are doing. There is a big trust. They give us the right briefs. they give us the right product. At the end of the day, you like the ad because the product was good. And the product continues to be good and better, and we hopefully that, you know, when we have loyal client like you, which means we are doing something right.
Should I?
I'd like to ask, sorry, one more question. Here we are.
Yeah, hi. My name is Banerjee from Ubok. I have seen in the last 18 years your airline making a lot of changes in the India sector in terms of the food being delivered, in terms of the menu being written in different, you know, when you go to Hyderabad it's different when you go. Just one small thing which has been overlooked maybe. I don't know, all of us being an Indian, how can I have dinner at 7:38? You just get into the plane, in 15 minutes the dinner is served. Are you getting the point? Because that's something which doesn't happen. Half the people don't practically have dinner at 8, all of us. I don't think any one of us. So can that be taken as a suggestion?
Is it about serving dinner after boarding?
Serving dinner so quickly.
Yeah?
So how do you manage to serve a hot dinner so quickly? Actually, sorry, I should correct myself. The question was, how do you manage a good dinner?
Huh? No, you see, the service, it's very good question. A lot of times people ask, even you serve lunch if it's not a lunch time. But the thing, like, usually you have a lot of connection passengers, which is usually it's planned to time with the destination. But to keep it hot, you know, that's technology.
I'd like to ask one final question before we wrap up. Based on, you said you had 171 aircraft flying now, but you've got 235 on order. I mean, that's a huge number, because even if you're growing at 10, 20%, it's another 20, another 30, but 230 planes, what are you going to do with them?
Fly them.
But in what time scale?
If you have a daily flight to New York, you need 2.5 aircrafts. So really, the way we are expanding now into North and South America, and into Australia, and hopefully more destinations in India, you need them. At the end of the day, Dubai is becoming the hub is becoming such a mechanism that really you can, no matter how many flights you put, you fill them in. So for us, in our industry, when you have seat capacity of 70%, seat load of 70%, you are considered full. We've been running 80 to 82% all year round. Okay, we're not making the money we want to make because of the fuel prices, but at the end of the day, the input into the economy and into the employment and into Dubai GDP and so on is much greater than selling tickets and lose a little bit of money or not to make the profit you want.